Hey Tony, how you doing? We're live. Um, Thanks for joining me. It's really exciting. I'm happy to. It's the first time we've had someone that's a non-basketball coach to talk to us and share a little bit about your journey. And appreciate you being here.
No problem at all. Thank you for inviting me. Hopefully we can have some fun.
Yeah, how you keeping in all this time? Hopefully we're seeing the end of it now, but this difficult period for a lot of people.
It's interesting. It's interesting. Homeschooling, relearning maths for primary school, and being reminded what a tetrahedron is and things like that is awkward. The one compensation is I've got a really tidy garden now, if nothing else. But it's difficult to try and keep people training and doing things without any real outcome, real goal or to focus on is awkward because we don't know when we'll be back competing, if at all, this season. So do you draw a line under it? Do you keep ticking along? Those are the questions you need to answer, really.
Yeah, it's just something that no one can plan for. So what we want to talk about a little bit before we get into your expertise in the field you've had so much success is tell us a little bit about your passion of basketball and your love of the game. I don't think many people know that me and you have been backcourt teammates and some many great legendary local league teams. So tell us a little bit about it.
Can I? Yes, sure. No, that was interesting. Sheffield League. From that, I have one question for you. Why you didn't give me more court time? I would like to know why I didn't get more court time because I clearly deserved it.
I took the coach hat off for that team. That was John Timms, so you have to take that up.
John Timms, yeah, okay, I remember that. I must bring that up with John Timms when I see him next as to why I didn't get the court time. So I think it was obvious to both of us. Not being able to rebound, run, or shoot particularly well was probably a but no, I mean, I started playing basketball at school, which was third year. What would I be? 13. It was a new sport, really. Nobody had really else played it, and I was kind of tall at school, or one of the taller players. So I made the team, and I made starting five at All Saints School in Sheffield. So played from there, and then from there went to played some club basketball and stuff. And funnily enough, I knew you were going to ask me this question, so. Here's my medal from the inter area junior winners medal from 1987. So I played for Yorkshire. I think I got at least a minute and a half court time.
Okay.
So no, but really, I always loved the game. And then the chance of going back and playing as we did Sheffield League and playing it socially was brilliant. It's great fun to be.
It's fun, isn't it?
Especially in a team sport where it's with so much time in individual sports where it's on you, you're an individual, that to actually have the team sport where you rely on other people plus the camaraderie and all of that lot. And hey, you know what? And going for a beer afterwards and that kind of thing. It's the social side of it, and playing team sports is fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. No, I had a blast, and it's always a good time. It was really nice for me because I stopped playing so kind of abruptly. That really kind of filled that void and kept that, like you said, that the spirit of what we all like team sports for. Yeah. So now let's look a little bit into what you kind of kicked around and did as a job from time to time. Being an Olympic coach and training some of the greatest UK athletes we've seen and come through the ranks. How did that all start for you? Where was that journey to start? Was it something you always intended on doing when you set out into sports, or?
No, not really. I didn't really want to I did want to get into coaching. I wanted to stay involved in sport, don't get me wrong, but you always fancy yourself as a player or as an athlete. You always have that vision. But quite quickly, those who can do, those who can't coach. So unlike you did player coach, you could.
No, I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. I understand that one.
It's sort of, so, and really what I did is I did basketball during the winter, and then I did athletics during the summer. That's what you did at school. And that kind of continued outside of school. And then the training group that I was part of, the guy who was coaching was left. He went back to Israel. He was only over for 2 or 3 years, and therefore the group was left. And I think he recognized my limited ability early on and encouraged me to coach and do everything from there. There comes my dinner. But
there you go.
hi, Mom. So see, delivery anytime.
Oh.
So from that point of view, we'll have to edit that out later. Mike Tank probably pulling his hair out, of which there's a lot currently. But no. So again, you just got involved with the coaching and looking after a good group of athletes, and then it kind of grows from there. I don't know. It wasn't something I purposely drove to do, but then as soon as you're in charge of people, you got that level of responsibility. Really, straightforward. You got to just deliver. You got to go out and learn your trade and catch up really quickly.
What age were you at around that time? Was that before university, before trying to like that age, or what age were you?
Christ, now you're asking a question. But I've been coaching. I got my first basketball coaching qualification around about 18. There were three of us: myself, Toni Sheffield, Dave Roberts, and Alex Cooper were the four of us, and we were running sessions at the Sheffield YMCA for kids on a Saturday morning. We did sort of 10 or 12 weeks of delivering coaching following the coaching award. We charged 20p. We were there raising money for the club. That money went back in and played, and you did, and that's what you did. So, it was 18. So getting into athletics coaching in earnest, probably about 25 years. So I know certainly I think this is my 35th year coaching in some guys, but really started coaching in basketball. So a bit more by accident than design, if I'm honest.
Well, I think a lot of people seem to have that trend, especially in what I've been speaking to, is kind of there's a passion and love. And, that combines with sometimes being in the right place, right time, or someone seeing something in you, whatever the case may be. But a lot of people seem to kind of fall into these careers that are passion and loves.
Yeah, part of it, I think, is wanting to stay in the game and enjoy sport and be involved. Part of it is I think is that wanting to give to people, to support to people, and say, you know what, it isn't going to be me, but let me help somebody along their way and their journey. Because, without getting too deep too early in this conversation, though, the thing is that sport changes lives. Sport changes lives. There's a real opportunity. A lot of people, we don't realize, don't travel particularly far, don't travel around Britain, don't travel outside of Britain and things like that. So, but sport can give you that opportunity, traveling around Britain, playing games all over the place. And then if you get to a level, going abroad and playing in some way, playing fixtures and things like that abroad, that's a real life-changing and life-enriching experience.
Well, traveling, coming abroad definitely changed me completely. When I left America to when I went back after my first season abroad, I was a different person. I was just that, I don't know, it just really broadens your horizons. You realize that culturally, seeing different things, meeting new people, that what you learn, you absorb so much stuff from actually going to different places, and which I think is very rich in the UK and Europe. People travel to different countries, but as American, it's not very common. So you really get like thrown in the deep end, so to speak, as far as learning and that stuff.
I know, it's fascinating. I was watching on Amazon Prime. Other networks are available. On Amazon Prime, there's a documentary, All or Nothing, and one of the teams, I can't remember which one it was, but one of the American football teams, professional American football teams, they're coming to London to play. And it might have been Carolina Panthers or something. But some of the guys on a US American NFL team do not have passports. And one of the guys there with his brand new passport is there. And the lady says to him, "You need to sign the page." Oh, okay. Yeah. Sign the page. It's his first passport.
Yeah. I didn't get my first passport until I went to some exposure camps in New Jersey and different New Jersey, and I think that was it. And I started getting some interest, and I had to go do all the paperwork to get my passport. I didn't have a passport, so I was a little bit behind it. But it got in time, but still, it was never even thought about getting a passport, really.
No, it's incredible. So I think more people in Britain probably have the passport because it's not far to go to Spain or France or wherever, and you probably need one to get.
It's amazing. I enjoy that about being on this side of the world. It's 2 hours is a whole different everything: food, culture, people, weather, whatever it is. It's no, it's great.
No,
So
definitely.
so from there, tell me a little bit about how you developed your style of coaching, your style of getting through and connecting with athletes, because I'd imagine we'll get into that, but yeah, just tell us a little bit about that.
You know what? When I started coaching, really, I think you kind of follow the way you were coached. I think you just replicate. That's the way I was coached, so that must be the right way to coach, and you just deliver it. And certainly where basketball was concerned, I was all stick, no carrot. You messed up, you sat down, because that's how I'd been coached. You sit down. You admit it, sit down. This kind of thing. Oh, we'll let you back on in a few minutes when you've learned your lesson, type thing, which was just the way not to coach. It just take the person out. It's all about the result. It's just a shame. So certainly where athletics is concerned, yeah, no, I'd got this. Oh, push, 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 push. And then you start to realize that when you're coaching people individually, that they're all so different. And you got to coach people differently and just try and look at what their personal strengths and weaknesses are. And really that. So there's a whole, when I do talks and things, there was always this idea, I thought, that with young kids, you'd be a teacher. So it'd be very, very direct, your coaching, just tell, do this, do that, do the other. And then eventually you'd be coaching. So there'd be a bit more discussion. That'd be the sort of middle phase. And then with older people, you'd be doing more of a mentoring, advising, what do you think? And this sort of question. The harsh reality, I think, is to coach well at the highest level, you've got to have those three skills completely blended and be able to switch your personality. I've got to be direct at the right time. So you must have it. If it's a timeout and you got, right, guys, we need to do this, we're stopping the run, and it's very direct. Other times, the opposition have called a timeout, you come in, okay, let's keep playing. There's a bit more coaching going on. And then if you've got sessions, there's more, guys, what do you think? Right, at the play, coming deep, kicking it back out. You've got that skills. You've really got to have that kind of chameleon about you when you're delivering to different people. And then take into account the personalities. Because there are some people, they don't mind being shouted at. Some people you got to put an arm around. Some people you've got to explain very technically, so they understand it. So you're always trying to flex and bob and weave, I think, really, to deliver coaching.
One of the things that we've spoken about, I mean, a lot of coaches spoken about, and not so much on this, just in general, is how have you noticed the difference in the generations coaching something like an individual sport opposed to a team sport? Us coaches, we definitely know, like you said, about can't shout at everybody. That was, when I was younger, was kind of like you almost expected that. And when a coach was more player coach, it was like, wow, this guy's extremely different. Where now I feel like it's a flip, where if it's someone that's old school, like a Bobby Knight, where you're just, losing all the time, that's much more unusual than it is someone that's more player coach or nicer. So how have you found that in individual sports? Is it similar or?
It can be. I think it's about honesty. There's two things. Sorry. One is honesty, and I'll come back to that one. The first one is developing that communication between you and the athlete. Because when they're young and they first sort of come training wise, the typical answer of like, okay, how did that feel? Do you understand that? Kids will look at you. And when I say kids, younger than probably, 12, 13, 14, that kind of thing, will look at you and want to give you the right answer, which isn't necessarily the correct answer. So as you are in school, you don't put your hand up unless you know the answer. And if it's wrong, you probably don't put your hand up again in that class. But what you're asking them to do is, I don't want the correct answer. I want your answer. I want to know what you're feeling, how you think, what your experiences are. And based on that, I'll take that information in and I'll feed back to you. So getting somebody to have that two-way conversation of, do you understand what I'm saying? Does that feel right? Have you experienced that? Do you get that feeling? Okay, can you do that? Yes, no. And then trying to put it in different ways to them. So that's the first thing. And then there's got to be that honesty of message to people, because ultimately anybody comes to you as a coach, they want you to make them better. So there's got to be honesty of, okay, this is what's happening. This is straightforward, because people will read that very quickly. If you're dishonest with them and say, oh no, you were fine, you were great today and that, and internally they know, no, I was awful. that, they recognize, and they start to lose that trust for you. And they're going, does he lie to me all the time? Does this guy know what he's talking about?
Right.
And as soon as you lose that, you lose them. And therefore the relationship doesn't grow any further. So there's always that element of honesty, but developing that rapport. There's certainly the coach-athlete relationship. There's a professor, Sophia Jao at Loughborough University, does a lot on coach-athlete relationship. It's important. It's part of the picture that you do in coaching, but certainly being able to communicate and have that relationship, that you can have an honest conversation, even if they've got to tell you, no, I didn't like that today because, and you'll grow from that,
Right.
really. But at some point, let's be honest, as a coach, we're in charge. We can, who's boss? There's one. That's me. No, but you're always gonna. At some point, somebody's got to make the decision, but also with that decision comes the responsibility that if it's wrong, you got to put your hand up and go, okay, it was wrong today. I got that wrong today as a coach.
Well, you always need someone. I always tell the players over my course of my career is, you need me to get you that extra push. You can only push yourself personally so far. You need someone there, not me in particular, but a coach, to push it, extra push. If you're not willing to accept that someone else needs to push you, the extra 10%, whatever it is, to get better, you'll plateau and then decline.
No, you certainly, it's a very special character, that person who pushes themselves. And to the same extent as a coach, to hold somebody back, go, ooh, we don't need to thrash yourself today. Just take it easy, wind down. And you can see that. I mean, the crazy thing is sometimes when I had it with Jessica once. She turned up to train and she was just tired, really, really tired. And I just said, look, it's not happening today. And this was at warm up. And I said, let's just take the day off. You should have said. She was like, what do you mean? Hold on a minute. Oh, no, I can't take a day off. Here's my training plan. This is what it says. I'm supposed to do this. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Rest will be more important today, because you're going to take more out of yourself than you're going to put in. So again, you've got to have that. Can I push somebody on? And even with Jess, to a certain extent, to have the belief, because in the 800 meters, she wasn't a fan. Was not a fan of the 800 meters. It hurts. It's lactic tolerance. It's that, and it's just, no, if you work at this, it will get better. It will get better. You'd have to push yourself. Running 2 minutes 20 for the 800 doesn't hurt any less than running 2 minutes and 7 seconds. They're all hurts. It doesn't matter, but you got to push.
Right.
And she got better, and all credit to her. She worked at it and worked at it and worked at it. But yeah, there was a couple of times, get up off the floor. Oh, I can't run anymore. No, get up. Get up. You got one more rep. Yeah, one more rep. You got to go again. But hey.
This leads into a question that's been sent in. Someone's asked, I'm not sure, but someone's asked, is there a difference in coaching males and females in this kind of vein we're talking about? Do you do things differently? And this isn't my question. This is obviously someone watching.
Yeah. So. I think the answer is yes.
Sheffield had us asked that. Sorry.
Yeah, I think you do things differently from that. But again, a lot of it's personality. Is the question of, personality, stuff like that, encouragement and things like that. And it's a sweeping statement, but I find that women that I've coached want to know more the intricacies of what they're doing and why they're doing it and how it's helped. And so you spend the time having that conversation and then there's buy-in, because I think then there's more trust. Guys are a little more Neanderthal, let's say, and they're like, okay, yeah, I'll do that, and off they go, and it's just, and away they go, because there's just the group dynamics are different as well. Men amongst men, there's a bit of who's the alpha male and things like that, and how they push themselves. Women, there's a bit more sort of camaraderie in that sense, combative but not competitive. Whereas men are probably more, even on the same team, there's a bit more combative approach to them. So, yeah, you do. But with all of them, it's down to the individual's personality of having the time, sitting down, having the conversation. From that. And I think sometimes women are more open to those conversations. sometimes sit down, okay, let's review. How's this all going? Whereas guys are, no, I'm fine. It's okay. There's a bit of bravado and that. So yeah, there's certainly differences, but coaching's coaching at the end of the day, and it's that relationship piece really, and the back and forth.
Well, from my point of view, I've never coached women, so I'm not expert. Whenever I watch the game, and whenever I've been around basketball, purely basketball, I always think women's basketball is such way more physical than men's basketball. They are physical players compared to the men's game, which is physical, but for women, every cut's bumped, every screen is really hard, everything's like really aggressive, and it's always, I think that surprises people sometimes when they do watch the women's game, how physical it can be. Me,
Yeah,
that's what I know.
I think you're right. I think that is the way. I think basically what we're admitting there is that men are soft.
Yeah, I think so.
Women are stronger, and that's it. So okay, let's park that one there.
Yeah,
we got to up our game.
So what do you feel like, taking all that into account, and what do you feel like some of your strengths are as a coach versus some of your maybe points that you need to identify and just? I think everyone has weak points as a coach, but you try to not make them your weak points. You know what I'm saying? So what's your strengths and something that you feel?
I think that's an interesting one. Whether you view it as a strength or not, but I think I often wonder, and this is the emotional kind of fluffy moment, but the insecurities, the always wanting to be better. Has my session been good enough today? Is what I'm doing working? Those kind of frustrations. Can I be better? Can I learn a bit more? Can I be better? Did I really deliver to this person today? Am I improving this individual? Am I doing what I set out to do? And that kind of the continuous reflective practice you need as a coach. Never being sort of satisfied by the session that you've done. Can we do that better? Is that good enough? Is that really ticking the box? Is that delivering the performance? And I'll be honest, I think it's a strength. I take somebody's underperformance, I take them personally. If they've done everything that they were asked to do, and as an underperformance, I look at myself and I go, what didn't I do today? You know, I found that certainly on a few occasions with Jess when she underperformed and things went wrong. It was always what should I have said today that would have made a difference? Why didn't I say something? Why can I have that moment again and let me make a better call from that? And certainly those things sit with me, and you're always thinking, can I be better? Can we look at this? Is there something we can better do? And it may not be termed as a strength, but they're always striving to improve. I think once you stop learning as a coach, Malcolm Arnold, who coached Colin Jackson and amongst a number of people, he said in his very brusque manner, but he said, once you stop learning as a coach, you're dead. And it is, as long as if you're not picking up new information, you've got to be out there doing and doing and doing. And you haven't got all the answers, and you're always going to have to go out and find more. And that's the thing, that inquisitive mind. So, you know, you can see my books behind me and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm a book hoarder. And I've read most of them, but you kind of always read what's new, what's different, what's perspective, what is that? And if you're not going to learn something new, then hopefully you get an affirmation that, okay, that is what I'm doing is right, and what I'm thinking is reasonably correct, and it's the latest thing. So trying to get more, but and I think the other thing is you've got to be as competitive as your athletes, if not maybe slightly more competitive, because that's I think where you're pushing them. Come on, guys, we can win this. We can do well. We can achieve. You can jump further. You have got that in you, so on and so forth. Can we get more out of you? So always stretching, always learning.
Right. What are some things that? So we're saying those are the strengths, those desire to want to learn more and your competitiveness. So what's some things that you feel are maybe things that are you've worked on improving, maybe could be perceived as weak, but not really weak?
You know what I'm really awful at, and this is sort of, you know, we know there's only you, me, and Mike Tuck watching this, and that's
absolutely.
Let's say just between the three of us. You know what? Sometimes I'm so quick to hear stuff and listen, too quick to listen. There's that thing, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, and you should spend 2 to 1 listening, and then
twice as much listening as you're talking.
And somebody will say something, I got it. Okay, let's go this way. And then afterwards you're like, no, you need to give that thought, or I dismiss stuff too quickly. Instead of going, oh, hold on a minute, let's think that. Let's permeate that idea and really blossom it into something. Okay, let's take that perspective. Those are the things. And now and again, little bits of doubt, like I say, sometimes not going with my gut, or somebody says something and they kind of throw me off a little bit, and I go, oh, hold on a minute. Instead of, no, trust your gut.
That's the worst. That's the worst, when you don't trust your gut and it goes wrong. 99% of the time, it feels like.
But you know that there's I don't know if it's in Malcolm Gladwell's book Blink or something, but there's I think in that book he talks about there's no such thing as intuition. People say, oh, it was intuition and that. And I kind of agree with that. I think you've witnessed so many things as a coach, you've seen so many practices, so many shots, this, that, and the other. You've got it all. So in your brain, it's stored. So when something happens, your brain goes, it looks a bit like that and a bit like that and this and that. Add it all together. This is the result you need. That's the decision you should make. But you don't know quite where it's come from. And people go, oh, it's intuition. It's just intuition. It's kind of not. It's a learned reflex to be able to deliver, a totally learned reflex. And and that's you trusting your gut. I've seen what looks like this 100,000 times before. And in those situations, this is the decision you should make. Make it. And trust it and go with it. And you may not win, but it's not fatal. No decision we ever made was fatal.
Did you get a chance to watch that Last Dance?
Yeah,
that's on Netflix. That seemed that kind of vein was running a lot through that whole series. I felt, as far as they were such a well-oiled machine and had trained so much. They wake up every morning, they work out together, they knew each other so well that they just won off instinct. A lot of times they would just go in knowing, oh yeah, we got this because we're gonna, and it just worked. 5 minutes show up late, and they just had it figured out as far as
have you ever had that happen? You ever had anybody go, I'm not going to be around, I'm just off to Vegas, I'll see you in a few days? Atiba, yeah.
Oh no, I don't think we can't carry those kind of players in our roster.
No.
Unfortunately.
But what I found fascinating though, the real takeaway from that was there's a little clip in there, and Michael Jordan says that he would never have been paid what he paid if it had been a 2-point game, 2 rebound to game type player. And that the real critical thing of the big performers is they know it's about what happens on the court or on the track, and the sport comes first, and they work their damnedest to deliver in the sport, and then the other stuff comes as a consequence of
byproduct.
Yeah. And you know what, it was just whatever that motivation is to be better. Because the interesting things for me is that you hear, what was it, Michael Jordan was cut from his high school team, first sort of thing, and his mother just went, go back and work harder. And then what was the other one? There's another one of those kind of things, just work harder. And it's 6 or 7 years before they won the first championship. You're like, really? It took that long? I didn't realize.
Yeah, you thought it just even I thought it was
just he turned up.
Seasons.
Yeah. So 6 years is a long time, and Phil Jackson was his 3rd coach at Chicago, which again, I just thought, oh no, it's Phil Jackson and Jordan started and they just won everything. Which shows the graft, the work ethic you need.
See, people like Michael Jordan, I think those are the kind of guys that you can see playing an individual sport and being world-class, one of the greatest at, if they put their mind to it. And that's the beauty, or whatever you want to call those team sport. Not everybody needs to be that determined or focused, but there's always 1 or 2 in every team that has that. You put them in any field of sport, any game of play, they're going to put such determination, hard work into it. Then you got probably 4 or 5 guys they excel at something, but they're not, they don't put the actual work in. They just have natural ability.
It's the curse of talent, I think, sometimes for those people at that end. I mean, the other people, I hate them. They just got it. They just have too much. They irritate me. They just can do things. You're like, why have I not got that? Just a little piece of that I would have loved. But the other thing is the curse of talent. To succeed too much too soon, or people put that label on you like some God-given thing, and then they don't have to
get complacent a bit, don't you?
Yeah, the sort of the sense of entitlement. I'm talented. I was the best kid as an under 16, so therefore I will become the best senior. And they seldom do. They seldom do. Junior success has no connection in any academic paper with senior success. All it is, it's a precursor at that point, which maybe may show early maturation in an individual, but it's work ethic, work ethic, and work ethic. That's what it is. It's a four-letter word, and you need some of it.
Yeah, I saw a clip of Doc Rivers, who was they're talking about LeBron. I don't know if you saw this, and he said LeBron doesn't get enough credit for what he's done. If you think he's been touted as being the next Michael Jordan and the greatest player since he's about 12, 13, and he's went on to exceed expectations from that age to now. And it was interesting putting it like that, because I don't think people do appreciate Jordan was a phenomenon that no one expected. It came out of nowhere. And LeBron could have easily been one of those guys you're talking about that, oh, I'm the greatest, I'm going to be Jordan, I'm going to, from 13, if you're hearing that, and you've got, offers from Duke before you even play high school basketball, that easily can turn the wrong way. And that says a lot about him as well.
I think that's part of the role of a coach, is to keep people with that much ability grounded, to understand that you're not going to play in the NBA at 13. So, at the earliest, you're probably going to play at 18, this kind of thing. I mean, even professional football here, you might get on the pitch at 17. I don't know if anybody's got on the pitch at 16.
Was it Wayne Rooney? Was Wayne Rooney the youngest?
Yeah, these kind of things. But even then, people were very careful. Ryan Giggs, another one at Manchester United, very careful, play a little, come on, don't play so many games, have that. But they keep them really grounded. And, Ryan Giggs, consummate professional, played till he's 40, this kind of thing. And that shows you that he's looked after his body. He's done things like that to look after himself and how he trains and that way. So as a coach, your role is to keep people grounded and understand this is a journey. It's going to take time. You're going to have to work through. When you get to this stage, this is what you should be capable of doing. And then if you want to continue to play for a long length of time, then these are the things you have to do away from the court to look after yourself and behaviors and things like that. So you have a bigger sphere of influence as a coach.
So how does that translate? Because obviously, I have this question for you anyways. How does that translate from having, like you said, a kid 12 and under, 13 under, who has potential, you see it in them there, how do you help manage that to adulthood to become a possible Olympian or world champion or compete even for top in the UK? How do you help psychologically and all that, coach that along? How do you do that?
Well, I don't know. You probably have to ask her. She'd give you one answer. There's no magic wand. I'm not Harry Potter. And
sorry, not how do you do that, but what would be some of your advice?
I think the only person you can truly affect is you as a person, but the only person you can 100% truly affect and change is yourself. So it's that kind of flex in who you are and how you sort of bob, weave, mold yourself to kind of fit and support the individual. So, I met Jess when she was 9. I started coaching her properly, fully at the age of 13, and she retired, 18 years later. So you kind of go through that time. She's changed from being this very typical 13-year-old through to being an 18-year-old, being in charge, driving her own car, having her own house, this, and then being who she was and so on. The woman that's on the TV in the Vitality and Santander adverts. It's a very different, and all the time, she's the one changing and growing. You're growing in your own way, but you're having to flex and understand the pressures and the things. So it's having an awareness that you can't behave in the same way to the 13-year-old that you can to somebody who's a mother of one coming back from pregnancy and all of those things. So you got to learn you can only really affect yourself and support them and have that understanding of what's happening for them, what pressures are they going through, what's happening at home, what are these situations and things, and trying to be there and support that and also understand the other things. So certainly one example would be with when when Reggie was born and Jess was now a mother training as a mum from that, you kind of go, right, there are certain issues here. Training has to finish at such and such a time on the dot. You cannot, so training finished at 12 o'clock midday on the dot, not at 12:01. It's done. She's out the door. So when she came in from 9 o'clock through to 12, you have 3 hours. You put the work in, you put the graft in, and it stops at 12. You can't be. Whereas the years previous, you'd be going, oh, let's do an extra throw. Let's do an extra run. We'll do a bit of extra turn. So you understand what's in her is happening. Because if you'd have kept training till 12:05, 2 or 3 days, then day 4, you'd have had an individual who was very concerned when they came down, wasn't like, oh, hold on a minute, this can't be happening, so on. So you have to take those things into account. And like I say, and having the open discussion, what needs to happen? What's important for you in order that we get the session? I know what I want to get in this session and what's important. You know what you want to get out, and you know these other things. So playing that balancing game between her needs and wants, my needs and wants, and the needs and wants of the session in order to produce a performance. You're always playing that. I think in things like basketball, it's when you've got older players who are not, younger players running around like headless chickens. Yeah, they go and shoot. And you got an older player who's a wise head, and you go, okay, I need you to do this. I need you to bring the team. So the roles are different. And as they've changed, and what people are capable of later on in their careers compared to early on in their careers, and how you change the game, for me, what you want out of individuals and how they play, and how you design things around players, and that I think is critically important. I need you to play this role this season because they're going to play that role. I mean, the interesting thing that Nate Rankins brought into the GB team is for me is about sharing the ball. Sharing the ball, maybe sacrifice your own personal game a little bit. Do I need to score 30 points, or shall 3 guys score 25? To share the ball, and who's got the better, they've got a better option, put it to them. They're still going to score. So that team dynamic, that's the interesting thing. And I think that's as true as that is for that team. It's just true throughout life and how you progress somebody's career along.
Absolutely. Well, one of the first times I think I ran into dress and medal was when I saw it was the Beijing Olympics. So she was injured. She had come down with an injury and she couldn't participate. And then I saw her at EIS, she was training or she was rehabbing.
Crap.
Sorry,
can we say that word? Anyway.
I don't.
No. Okay. I apologize for that word to everybody listening, especially Mike Tuck. But no. Just how was that time, and how was it rebuilding it to get refocused, and because that had to be painful, because I remember her watching it when we were in the gym. She was watching on TV with I think a boot in her foot or something, a cast. So what was that time like to get through that and rebuild and come back for the following cycle and be top of her game? That's kind of, if you talk about regrets, that's probably she should be a three Olympic medalist. She probably should have got 3 Olympic medals. 2008 is the one. And I'll be honest, that's a misjudgment in coaching, and the coaching loads and the coaching volumes and things like that. I'm pushing too hard, too soon, too much, because there's a perfect storm. So in 2006, I became a full-time coach. I was employed by the governing body at that time. So I could coach full-time. Great. I can coach 24/7. Away we go. At the same time, around about 2007, at the end of 2007, July, she finished at university. So she then became a full-time athlete. So you're full-time athlete, full-time coach. Well, let's go. Let's do this, within. So, and you also had at the World Championships in 2007, she finished 4th. And then the winner of it retired, not going to the Olympics in 2008. So it doesn't take a genius to go 4 - 1. Ooh, medal. We could medal next time. So suddenly this shiny medal is in there and it's luring you. Come to me, this kind of thing. And I'm full-time, you're full-time. So let's work so hard and this. And we overdid it. And she got stress fractures in her foot, which basically you get stress fractures from overuse, pound, that kind of thing. So you just overdid it. You chased this goal and focus. And at that point in her life, what will she have been, 22 years of age, you suddenly go, hold on a minute, this could be a career-ending injury.
Right.
That's the thing, is, have I broken this person permanently on the edge? And remember, this youngster comes into the sport, wants to be successful, has been to a European Championships, has been to a Commonwealth Games. So you've done the big championships. You're going to go to your first Olympics. That's the pinnacle. You came into this sport wanted to be an Olympian. That's the actual real peak of it. And you go, damn, I just broke it. I shattered this kid's dream, ambition, and future. So you take a long time to sit back and reflect and look at, why did it happen? What caused it to happen? How should we behave going forwards? What are the consequences? And what are the decisions we made? So, and I'm on record as saying there were three choices at that time with a broken foot in May, and the Olympics was in Beijing about August time. You had three options: train on regardless, just take painkillers and see if you can do the Olympics and see how you get on. Option one. Option two, put it in a boot, treat it sensitively, then go to the Olympics, take the boot off and see how you get on. Or three, the Olympics is gone. You're going to put on a boot. You're going to try and heal the thing properly, and have a longer term career. And it's tough to let the Olympics go because you think it's your only time. I'm never going to get another Olympics. This may be my one opportunity. But no, it's a brave decision. You go, no, the smart thing, put the boot on. It can heal. The expertise is telling you that it can heal. And there's a Professor Bill Ribbons in Northampton who is a genius on navicular stress fractures, foot, ankle injuries, and stuff like that. And the number of people that he's supported. He's a legendary, brilliant individual. Can't say too much about him. And he gave us a talk through as to how this thing might occur and how it would go through. And that's the decision we made. So there's a real opportunity at that time, which is the flip side, which is, what can we work on? What can we improve? So upper body strength, upper body physicality, the ability to improve the javelin, which was for her a weak event. So we worked on that as much as we could with the limitations of the boot. So you can always find something that, it's an opportunity. It's as much as it's a disappointment, but there is an opportunity attached to every disappointment, which is the opportunity to learn. And maybe there's a way you can improve. And, long term, she threw 48 meters with a javelin, which is a world-class heptathlon throw. But for a lady who couldn't throw, really had to learn and work really hard. So again, there's always that thing, but it's that reset button and making the brave choice of not to chase an Olympic appearance, because you know what, it will come around again.
So out of that, how was her mental spirit? Was she kind of, did you notice it, or was she even more hungry? Did she go on a lull a little bit, or did she come out a bit more hungry?
I don't know whether this is, did I actually witness this? But certainly leading up to the Olympics and the Olympic heptathlon, there was a lot of kind of misery and upset. Oh, I'm missing out. Oh, woe is me, and this kind of thing. So she gave me the biggest guilt trip all the way through. It's your fault. No, she never said that. But
you can see it in her eyes.
Yeah. She probably thought it. Yeah, she definitely thought it. So anyway, so we kind of, up until the heptathlon, and I remember I went round to her house and we sat and we watched the heptathlon both days. But the day after the heptathlon finished, it was like a cloud lifted, like curtains opened. And suddenly she's like, okay, it's gone now. Fine. I don't need to dwell on what I've missed, because it's not. We're going forwards. And it was like, whoa. And then she really worked. But up to that point, there was only one day. There was only one day she rang me up and she was on the end of the phone, and it was all kind of teary. And I don't, to this day, I do not know what she was telling me or saying to me, but she said, I'm not coming down to train today. And I was like, hello. Oh, okay, there's no training today. I'm not going to argue with her. She was that disappointed with it. You're like, okay, I'll let that one slide, because she'd worked every day up to that point. And all credit to her. There was also, which I knew was coming, there was always a point where you take the boot off and you go back into a shoe and you elevate your training. I tell you now, there's always a point where you have to go, damn, we need to take 2 steps back. And she had an issue. So she'd been on 2 crutches with a boot, then it was 1 crutch with a boot, then just the boot. The boot came off, she put a shoe on. Then she had to go back into the boot. She was devastated because at that point, it's a real knockback. Oh, is this thing not going to heal? And it's like, no, this is precautionary. We're looking at the scan. There's a little bit there. We're going to wait a little, put you back in a boot for a week, and then you come back out and stuff. And that was really tough to sell because suddenly you feel like you're taking steps backwards. So again, you know, it's that there are those bumps in the road that you need to get over. Even coming back from pregnancy, there are psychological papers about coming back from injury and how people see things. And there's that like a depression, like what can I say? It's a coping mechanism that you go through, the sort of stages of denial and upset and anger, and you go through them. And even coming back from pregnancy, because of the hormones that pregnancy releases, she wasn't as quick in running sessions. So when she was back doing her running sessions alongside people that she would beat by 10 meters plus, she wasn't, she was behind them. And that starts to play on your mind a little bit. Have I lost it all? Is it gone? Am I no longer? Is this it? Is that it? It's over. And it's like, no, you have to wait. Your body has to go through its processes where this hormone will diminish, and then it will come back. And slowly but surely she did. She caught people up, and then eventually, by the time that the Beijing World Championships came around in 2015, she was ready. She was back. She was back ready to go. And you know, we went to the World Championships based on that. But no, there were some tough days of like, am I going to be as good as I am? Am I that? Have I lost my place? Am I not going to be good? Is it all over?
Yeah.
There's that. So you got to be smart as a coach psychologically to recognize that, understand it, talk people through it, and not be dishonest. And oh no, you're going to be fine. Well, why am I going to be fine? Prove it to me. Show me. Tell me. You know, and what are you seeing? Well, okay, this evidence, this empirical evidence, you in the gym, you're doing this well. Okay, so this will come. And here's the medical information about what happens with relaxing the hormone that you need in order, you know, that women have. Now, those are tough conversations to have, but you got to have them.
Yeah. So we're out of that phase now. What did it feel like? What was the focus and energy and like the thinking going into your first Olympics after overcoming all that to be back in a position? How did you feel going to that Olympics? How was your approach? Were you confident? Were you overly nervous? Did you feel like a monk-like aura of calmness around you guys? What was the feeling?
like a monk. Yeah, I just pray generally regularly. No, you know what? It's I fortunately, having been through athletes who went to Winter Olympics and seen things and witnessed things, and witnessed what I could only describe as the Olympic disease. That what happens in the year that you find going into an Olympics, because it's the pinnacle of your career, people suddenly start to do crazy, different things because they feel they should, because it's an Olympics. I have to do something different. And you're like, why? What? And I'd seen that in Winter Olympics. So I was aware of that. I was aware of the noise around and personalities around, and how there's a big pressure moment, not just for you as a coach or for the athlete, but for like the performance director, for the program, for these other people who will never put on a pair of spikes and run, will never do that. But they keep their jobs or they lose their jobs based on whether you can deliver as a coach and the athlete can deliver. And you get all this kind of white noise whizzing around, and have you done this? You need to have done that, and this needs to happen. And you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. So no, you experience those things. I think we learned a big lesson the year before in 2011, because she won a silver medal at that time. The pressure was mounting at that point. And so after the World Championship, the silver medal was a really good opportunity to reflect and look at, what are we doing here? What are we doing? The pressure is building. Okay, hold on. And my mantra throughout that whole time was that I don't need the Jessica Ennis +1 version. I just need Jessica Ennis to turn up. The training volumes have increased as they always do year on year, 5%, 10%. Trust the training. I don't need you to do anything different, anything crazy on top. You don't need to push any harder. The training's hard enough. You're escalating as you are year in, year out because you're developing. Just stick to it. And that was really the whole mantra. And to be brutally honest, that was the easiest coaching 2 days I have ever had was London 2012. It was easy, smooth as silk, just everything went virtually to plan. So, you kind of went, this really? And then only afterwards, having won it, that she'd won the medal, did you suddenly look back and think, oh yeah, there was a lot of pressure going on, well, there wasn't there? There's a big, her face painted on a grass field in the near Heathrow as planes are coming in, and your face of the games and so on. You suddenly then, once it had come to fruition, you start to think, wow, that was a bit ropey at times. That was a lot of pressure, but it's like, I don't know, it's like the eye of the storm. It's calm in the middle of the storm. The storm's out around you. So trying to stay in the middle of the storm is the smart thing to do. From that, it's game day. Just do what you normally do. Prepare and warm up in the way you've always warmed up. Do what your job is and achieve in that way. Don't try and do extra things. There is a little bit of, push a little bit, 101%, but you make sure the basics are all ticked and you're doing what you're supposed to do is the mantra really going forwards.
I bet that's probably the huge difference between a lot of people's performance, I guess, nerves and, like you said, overperforming before they get there, let alone when they're actually in the starting blocks, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I'd encourage people to read the sports psych. He's not a sports psychologist, that's unfair, but Steve Peters, Dr. Steve Peters, he's a clinical psychologist, very clever man, but The Chimp Paradox. It's a good, 2/3 of the book are really good, simple to read. The last third gets a bit technical. So, on a simple guy like me, I struggle with the last third of the book, which I've told him. But the first 2/3, you learn a lot. And it's the fear, flight, fright, the adrenaline we have in all of us, that anxious, it's a hormonal response to a stressful situation. And once you realize that you're not going to be eaten by a dinosaur or a tiger or something, that it's safe, then you can control what you're doing. You just understanding my body's going through this because it feels like it needs to run away. But actually, that's safe. It's the same. There's a really good basketball film with Gene Hackman, Hoosiers. Have you seen that one?
Hoosiers,
You're a young man.
That was my high school coach's favorite. It was that and Rudy. That he would want to play every year for the team in high school.
But he does a thing because they get to the state championships, I think it is. And he measures the basketball zone, and he goes, "How far is it?" And the guy tells him the distance in feet. Then he basket the ring, and it's 10 feet. And he goes, "It's exactly the same as in our school gym back home." Yeah. And that's the thing. And it was always that, and I've always had that view is that the 100-meter hurdles is the 100-meter hurdles, no matter where they put them. It's 13 meters to the first hurdle. They're 2'9" high, and they're 8.5 meters apart, and it's a 10.5 meter running. It's never different. It's just they're exactly the same. The environment's the same. So just go out and perform. It's making it normal, making things normal. Normalize.
So you've done the hometown medals, and that was amazing. How did you bounce back and keep your focus? Like you said, people go there and they go crazy. I'd imagine a lot of times people win a medal and also they lose their focus and lose their way a bit, or they kind of don't recover from success the same ways as well. So how did you maintain your focus and keep the success going?
It was a weird time because you come into the sport, you want to go to the Olympics. Okay, we've done that. And you'd like to win the gold medal. That'd be really nice. Oh, we've done that. And you've done it at home. And you've done it with 2 British records. What's left? What's the point? I've climbed Everest. Why would I do it again? So there's a real need at that point. And I think people have to understand is that you can't get back on the horse straight away. You've got to go and rest and take the time from that sort of thing before you can really regroup. Because certainly in my mind, she knew that she was too young to retire, but she'd achieved a lifetime's ambition. and a legacy is kind of cemented. So to go again is kind of tough. You need to take time and reflect that it's really what you want to do. And then really the next 2 years were kind of strange because she had a number of injuries straight afterwards, 2013. And her focus was on getting married and things like that. So, next phase of her life and things like that. So that was the next year. And then the following year, she missed that because she was pregnant, starting a family and things like that. So certainly for 2 years, from a personal point of view as a coach, you're being supportive, you're helping through the injuries, through the training, and then pregnancy is there and you're like, okay, I'm helping you in a different way. But there was certainly for 2 years, you're like, are we actually doing this anymore? Is this over? Is this over? You go, at what point? Because it's really different, when the little one comes along, your life changes. And you and me, we both got young children. Sleep deprivation is oh God, man, whose turn is it to get up? I don't know. I didn't hear her. No, I didn't hear her. Was she calling? No. This, you got suddenly it's different. Like the whole life's different, and therefore, as a coach, you make the decision. And I put no store behind what she said up until the point that Reggie was born, her son was born. Is she actually going to come back? Because until Reggie's on the scene, down and only then will we really know. And she did. She wanted to come back and wanted to do it. And we said, okay, how are we going to do it? How are we going to timetable it? What's the target? What's we going to do? And the target at that point was, it'd be really good to come back to go to a second Olympics, because then Reggie would witness it. That would be great, from that point of view. If you could sneak a second medal, that'd be really good. Okay, all right, let's climb that mountain. And so you set the targets. So instead of judging it as a single year at that point, we looked at the 2 years. We set a target over 2 years because there's an 18-month qualification period for the Olympics. So you go, as long as we can get in our first year back, as long as we can tick the box of Olympic qualification, we know we're going to Rio. Then we'll regroup, reassess where we are, and see whether actually pursuit of a medal is possible. And that's really, so suddenly the targets become different. They become a bit more bite-sized. And every time you achieve anything, you go back and do that reflective piece and examine, right, is the overall target, the dream target at the top end, is that still in the right place, or do we need to reassess? Can we push it a little bit, or is it too far? But what's our next step to move towards that golden target? So they become incremental steps along the way. Whereas in previous years, you had one target stuck out there, right, let's go. We're chasing that, and away you go. So it became small, more bite-sized, step by step.
Did you find that easier to manage and coach in that, opposed to other years? Was it an easier running because so much had been accomplished? Personally, she was fulfilled in a different place in her life. I feel like that was more enjoyable. Let's say not more enjoyable, because I'm sure it's all fun and enjoyable in some way. But was it easier to manage it to go into Rio?
Confidence is the thing, because for 4 years between 2009 and winning the World Champs in Berlin to 2012, you knew exactly who the opposition was, you knew their strengths and weaknesses, and you had confidence that having beaten them before and so on, you knew what was happening. You take 2 years out, suddenly the dynamics of the individuals change, that kind of thing. Can I come back, from that? And then physically, I'm different. So can I make that transition and that? So it's more about selling the confidence as a coach. You're dealing with the physicalities were there. They were coming back. The physicalities were there. You can bench press, you can clean, you run this time, you can do this, do that. All that ticks. But can I put it all together? Have I got the confidence to add to it and actually deliver? So, if you're watching The Last Dance, I suppose it's that little bit where Jordan comes back from baseball and he's playing, but quite quickly it's obvious he's not basketball fit. He's baseball fit, but he's not basketball fit. He can't play. He couldn't play, 7 games. Those games, playing 2 nights in a row and stuff. You suddenly find out about yourself, and your confidence takes a knock. Now, I'm sure somebody like Jordan, you go, I can compartmentalize it, I know what I'm doing. But for other people, it's like, no, this is coming. We can do this, and it's confidence. And so your role changes as a coach. it's not about so much the X's and the O's and the numbers. It's about the individual then, and how you grow that individual and the conversations you have. So those were the things, and that's where you focus. So your skills and my learning, I had to go out and read a lot of things about, and there's nothing, there isn't anything written about coming back from pregnancy to power sports. There's a lot about coming back to endurance sports because there's an increase in blood volume. And so therefore, with the increase in blood volume, you can carry more oxygen. So aerobically, you're a machine.
Right.
But power sports, where you need that strength and that bounce, it takes longer. So there's very, very little written. And I was looking at a lot of articles of the psychological state of coming back from injuries. Not that pregnancy is an injury, but it was the only thing I could find that went, where does that doubt come from? How do you deal with it and do that? And so you end up, normally you can have a conversation maybe once or twice and that's done. Yeah, do we accept this? And that's a conclusion. But to have that conversation 20 times in 40 days and have to go back, okay, let's go through this again and that's a lot of patience. And also you got to have the conversations and understand as a coach, is it sticking? Is that information that I'm giving that person, is it sticking? Am I delivering it in the right way that they're believing it? Do they still trust me? You know, do they feel I'm still being honest, or do they lose faith in me and stuff like that? So you got to, there's a balance then of how you're doing it. And when somebody keeps asking you the same question, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? You're like, yes, I'm sure. But no, you won't get angry at that point. But no, you go, okay, let's go through this again. I'm sure because point one, point two, this is what I've read. So your skill set has to change, I think, as a coach. And you do, I think you find dark moments yourself. I don't know whether you've been through them, that you question yourself. You go, if they keep asking me, am I doing this right? Actually, is the answer right? You know,
I mean, I've definitely dealt with that, especially when I was coaching, when I first started taking over at 26, 27, and you know, you've thrown in that deep end of a head coach from playing. I didn't have a transition as assistant for a long time to kind of get my theories, get my game plan strategy. It's kind of all from experience. Like you said, you kind of take on the persona of whatever coaches you've had. So you're doing what you've seen done, and you're that sort of it, works, but then the detail, you kind of like trying to fake it till you make it kind of thing.
How did you cope with that, and how long did that take you before you were like comfortable that go, yeah, I can answer that question or something?
Winning stuff helped. winning
silver. A win always helps.
Yeah, winning helps because every player they can go, when I did it, they're like, okay, yeah. Because you have evidence that what you do can be successful. And luckily for me, it was relatively quick that I won silverware. So I didn't have a long term of not having that to like kind of cement what I was saying or pull a team around. Because obviously I don't have necessarily as much time with a lot of guys as you have had with Jess or different athletes. It's sometimes 8 months and I'm getting a new player in. If I'm lucky, 2-3 years. So you don't have a long time to prove and get that trust of, I know what I'm talking about. This is best for us. And it'll work.
What's it like though, from transitioning from the court to the bench? Because you must have coached the players that you were playing alongside. So I don't know, you must have been captain of the team at the time when you finished playing. Were you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I wasn't captain and I became the coach, and then because we had Todd Cortland on the team with me.
Right. Okay.
Okay. And then when I took over as coach, I still had Todd, so he was the captain.
Yeah.
And then Tuck came in. I was always just coach. I never was captain as well. I just gave Tuck that role. But when I stopped playing, you definitely have to learn patience a lot quicker. And it's a different kind of because when you're in the heat of battle, you're actually more able to tolerate things and be clear and communicate a little bit more than when you are on the sideline, because you're getting so frustrated because you want to do it and fix it, or
you've lost complete control now. You have no effect on the game other than words.
So it's actually harder to communicate when you're out of when I stopped playing coaching, because there was no expressive things. I couldn't pull someone by the side in the heat of the moment and say, no, you're fine, keep going, good shot, or you miss those things that you would have do as a player. So that was
what do you do? How do you cope the first training session? That does I used to play alongside you. Now I'm the boss, and I'm going. That's not good enough, and everyone turns around and goes, that must be so hard, because we were in it together. The teams, there's always a little divide between the coach and the team, and we're in this together. We're a team, and the coach, he's not a nice person over there, and there's a difference. Suddenly, it's like, guys, I'm not one of the guys anymore. I'm over here.
You could see it was a learning curve for both, because the players, they're so used to having that, like you said, unwritten tension with a coach, because they're always making them do stuff they necessarily don't want to do. But I like him, and he's kind of, I don't want to think this, but I naturally always think this, and for me, it's kind of like, the players always are right, and all of a sudden I'm the coach now. I feel like I'm right, and it's trying to get that point across, and really, it's. You have to learn all those things you kind of said today all ring true. You got to kind of learn to kind of move and adjust. And what I did, I think early on, which was really good for me, is I gave a lot of platform for people to communicate with me. And then I'd go, nah, or yes. Yeah. And a lot of times if I said yes, I'd make a thing of like giving them acknowledgement that was their idea. Yeah. Or that, or you such and such, Tuck just said we should go do this in the zone. So let's drill that. And so that kind of helped bridge the gap between they didn't feel as left out of the loop a bit. Yeah,
because you've got to be able to learn from your athletes, their experiences, because you're not in their skin. So they say, well, actually this, that, and you've got to go, that's quite insightful. Let me bring that. But that's a skill of a coach, to be able to accept some of those ideas and then, okay, let's work with that. All right, polish it a little bit, do that, so on. But to take that gem as opposed to, no, I'm in charge, so it's going to be this. This is how we play. This is how we always play. And things. It is that, to have that is a great skill, that kind of flexibility. Oh, let me take that. Let's work that. That insightful, to take that information from a player, learn from their experiences.
So many of these guys that come, especially to the UK, and it's always definitely undervalued with the caliber of play we have. They've played for some legendary programs and coaches. They have been coached phenomenally until they reach to me. So to then they have habits of things that they've done and drills they've done. So when I first started coaching, I'm like, I'm developing my system, and I'm developing things from watching other coaches or what I've learned, or, but I haven't had a chance to be 5 to 10 years as an assistant and go to few head coaches and piece together. And so I'm using what they've learned sometimes to actually educate myself and grow as a coach, as well as what I read or watch. And so I've had so many players come through that have just been, legendary coaches. It'd be silly for me to just think, well, no, we'll do it this way here, and that's it. So I sometimes just doesn't fit. Like, I hear what you're saying, but that doesn't fit my system. And they're like, okay, they can understand that, but you have to appreciate that, some people, especially basketball, have great coaches in history.
Somebody once told me that a good coach is a good thief. You got to steal ideas from all over, wherever.
Absolutely.
They've got a drill. Oh, it's a really good drill. That's the sort of thing.
Absolutely.
I remember Jess would always be like, where have you got this idea from? I went, oh, I just made it up. What have you been reading? What have you been doing? Where have you got this from? No, it came to me in a dream last night. I had a vision.
I mean, I thought that when I first started, I tried to do everything from my own experience. All right, I'm gonna do this, and then you start doing things that you're thinking are original, and you watch a game. You're like, hold on, he does that, and he does that. And you're like, you know what? Let me stop being so stubborn, and just look around and soak it all in, because there's no point trying to invent stuff that's already been done and tried and tested.
I'd have been so much a better coach if I'd have had YouTube 25 years ago. There's so much stuff on there, good, bad, and indifferent. So you got to have a filter on in terms of what you're looking at. But there's so much stuff out there now that you go, oh, okay, I need something that fixes this issue or that problem. So being a good thief. That's the advice.
Since watching The Last Dance, a lot of times I've been watching the Dream Teams now. I've been going back and watching Dream Team, the original Dream Team, and now the Dream Team with the Kobe, LeBron, KD, and just doing some research and seeing kind of how the game was different, how the competitions improved, what were the offense, defense they were doing then to now, and could they get away with that from '92 when they were the greatest team ever assembled to playing against a team? Because I was watching the current with Paul Gasol, Ibaka, Caldon. You've got a starting 5 well, you got an NBA team now. We're opposed to Dream Team 2. So I've been watching a lot of those games, just kind of just learning and seeing the difference in the generations, really.
What I find fascinating is if you look at, I'm going to say it's Golden State effect, but the sharing of the ball and the number of shots now that happen outside the 3-point line. I'd say that the vast majority of points are in the key 3-point line. So that short mid-range 2 is kind of a rarity.
Yeah.
This kind of thing, because there's somebody, Pete Griffiths from Basketball England, put me onto an Instagram thing, which has this, it just shows where all the shots have been taken by players and where they're scoring from, and so on and so forth. You think, wow, and then it compared back to where Jordan scores from, and you're just like, wow, it's the 3 was kind of a little more rare. Not that rare, but a little more rare. But whereas now, 3's a given. Everybody shoots a 3. First option down court is a potential 3 from the guard. So you look at it and you go, wow. And the way the game's changed, because
all the analytics now about 3s and 2s and layups are the most productive. The high percentage shots. So now teams are just purely basing their offense around, if you don't have a 3, give it up and try to find a 3 or get a 2. But they really don't want that mid-range.
I remember the days of watching when we first got college basketball on TV, and it was Georgetown and stuff, Patrick Ewing playing and stuff, and you'd see it, and the old thing was basically you gave the ball to the superstar, and everybody else cleared out, and he just went around everybody and slammed it or whatever. Now it's ping, 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 and around and stuff. But hey, after lockdown though, you're gonna have to explain the triangle offense to me.
Okay.
I'm looking at it and go, that's a triangle, but then they throw it over there. That's not a triangle. That's a rectangle.
I love the triangle. I ran that triangle in high school, and then when I went to college, the coach changed it to triangle as well. I've always tried to incorporate elements of the triangle. It's an offense you really need to have a lot of guys. That's why they kept the team together so long, because it is, you don't just like switch pieces often, because it's very it's feel and reads, and you have to be able to read each other really well. So once you get to a point that you're really good at it, you don't want to break that up.
So is this top secret then? This is how the Sharks are going to play this coming season, is triangle offense. So anybody who's watching from any BBL team, they now know.
We've been doing Zoom practices over the quarantine time.
Everybody's got chalk on the floor. They're drawing triangles and running around these little things, shipping balls around.
Okay. How was your field change with? Because like you said, analytics is huge in basketball. Exchange information. When I first came up, we had to, send DVDs and you call coaches. But how was technology and analytics and stuff like that change the way you've dealt with athletes and the training for athletes?
Well, I mean, certainly when I started coaching, the only way you'd video something is, it's with a big camera with a big VHS cassette and something playing in there, and then you'd have to look through the viewfinder to play it back, and it'd be really scratchy. Whereas now, as long as you got one of these, you're away. You can video, slow-mo, do this, that, and the other, zoom in, zoom out. So the ability to use it is so, you can feed back to people so much better in terms of that visual sort of experience. The analytics we brought since lottery funding came in '96 and that, and more so, and certainly we worked with Paul Bryce a lot about understanding, but there's a lot of data out there, and I was speaking to Paul recently, but you've got to be careful with the data, because the data doesn't tell you everything. It's a number, but then you got to take that number and put it into the context of what's happening and what it actually is, and so on and so forth. But there can be quick feedback to just basically, am I quick enough? Am I quick enough on a runway to generate the distance that I want to generate in long jump, let's say? Is my release angle of a javelin anywhere near right that it will go a distance? And get that, and then they're more long-term things that you would think about. And judging some of the analytics, I think there's Carlo Ancelotti's book about quiet leadership. There's a bit in there he talks about the analytics and the computers and how it's taking over. And people were saying to him, I think he was playing a game, I can't remember where he was, whether it was Paris Saint-Germain or Chelsea or something. And the analyst is saying, oh, we need to do this. We're not defending it. We need to push up into the, and he's like, but that's not what I'm seeing on the pitch. And he does a really smart thing. He's a very interesting guy. He just said, switch the computer off, shut it off. And he goes, I'm going to coach what I see. not what the data's telling me. And I'm
Yeah.
not seeing what the data's telling me. So I'm going to coach what I see, which is the smart thing. You can rely too heavily on the analytics.
Let's start stepping on your like we said, your gut feeling and your intuition. Let's start stepping on that, and all of a sudden, you're telling me science is I've been right more times. I've been wrong with my instincts. Now you're telling me that science is going to tell me the right answer.
I'll give you an example. I heard a story from rugby, which is, whether it's apocryphal or whether it's actually true, I think there's a fair amount of truth. But some of the players, they'd have these GPS on while they're playing rugby union, and they're told they need to do so many meters a game. They should be doing so many meters a game. So when the ball goes out of play and it goes dead, these players are jogging around back and forth to try and make sure they're topping up their meterage so that they're not going to get told off when they get in the dressing room because you haven't run enough. And
Right,
there's this assumption that you should cover 9,000 meters, 9 kilometers or 10 kilometers a game. And if you haven't covered 10 kilometers, you're clearly not working. Well, if I score 3 goals and I only run 200 meters in football, does it matter that I didn't do the extra 8,800 meters? No, because we won 3-0. So again, you've got to look at some of this. And I think if there's any sports scientists watching, I'm going to upset them a little bit, but it's kind of taken over, and there's an over reliance on the science, that the science is more important than the coaching, whereas the science is the coaching is the application of the science in real time from that. And that's, because the coaching is the amalgamation of all the sciences. It is the physiology, it's the biomechanics and the psychological. You pull it all together, plus the tactical, stick it on there, shove it out and let it play. So have sports scientists, but don't forget to push back as a coach and go, what does that actually mean in this context? Don't just tell me it's a 7. What does 7 mean? Is 7.1 better, or is 6.9 good enough? You've got to be that. And I think the difficulty is British cycling, and I don't wish to cause offense, but this marginal gains, British cycling, and there's 1%. Science and stuff, kind of thrown as a bit of a curveball. And again, UK sport had this huge, science. We've got to have this 1% and so on and so forth. You know what? Make sure you do the basics right. The basics, the big, lumpy, ugly basics have to underpin before you can add a 1%. You've got to have the 100% before you can add 1%. So, and I think a lot of people have striven for this, trying to find a cherry to put on a non-existent cake. You still need the cake first. So it's being smart around that stuff, and being, I think young coaches, they probably find it difficult to challenge, and I certainly did. You'd never challenge a doctor because the doctor's always right. Now I'm quite happy to ask her, explain that to me, and don't use those really big words to explain, because I'm not that smart. So explain it to me simply. And what guarantees can you give me? Are there any guarantees or whatever? And certainly when you're dealing with injured players, it's what do you do? So I've been lucky that some of the doctors we've worked alongside, so Richard Higgins, who's Sheffield Wednesday's doctor, but also works at the English Institute, brilliant clinician, understands it and puts it in simple terms that you can understand, that you go, oh, okay, it's a broken toenail. Gotcha. How long have you had? About 2 weeks. Okay, it's this. Be careful of this, change training like that. So I've been fortunate to have people like that around me to educate me, really.
So just to wrap up that bit of technology, curiosity, for me, we've had some elements of technology coming in the BBL where we've been able to watch film in real time and kind of clip and then watch at halftime, which is very difficult without backroom staff and 3 coaches in the locker room doing it. And so, but we've done the best we can with what we have. Is that something that you would do between heats or do runs? Would you actually watch the footage with an athlete and say, look, you kind of did this, or you can do that better, or is that you'd rather not mess their head?
I tend to use video more in training, that as a feedback tool. But the way I've always been told, and the clever way to do it, I think, it sounds very smug and egotistical, so I apologize for that. Not that I'm clever, but basically the athlete does the performance. The first thing to do is not to ask them any questions at all. What I'm told is you then say, okay, just reflect on that a minute. Now look at the video. second, look at the video, and then put that together. Now I'll ask the question, how did that feel? What do you see? So the idea behind that is they then get to absorb the actual reality of it, their experience from it, an internal body view of it, if you like, from that. Then show them the video so they can see and marry what they felt with what they actually did. So they've got the outer body experience, if you like. So, because some people on a long jump takeoff, if you drive the knee, they say, yeah, I really drove it that time. You show them the video and they're like, oh, really? It felt like I did that. The cues I was receiving from my body was that my knee was here when it was actually, oh, look on the video, it's here. Okay, so you need to do more. So again, using the video in that way. So we do that more in training and probably look at lots of videos and so on. But some of that is you can become over reliant on it a little bit. So sometimes I coach without the video, and I'll video a couple of throws and not feedback at all. Just play with that a little bit. Okay, now let's just look at the last 3 throws that you just did and look at these, and can you see how it's different? And what should we work on today? Kind of thing. So it sets the session. In competition, definitely. But what I do with it in competition is it's for me and me alone, really. I look at the video. Basically, I've seen it, and it's really quick, and I've got my adrenaline pumping. So let me watch this again. And I always watch it in real time, then watch it in slow-mo, and watch it in real time. Because if you watch it in slow-mo at 300 frames per second, you see more happening than is actually going on. Right. So for example, because it's really slow, you see this, oh, and you see everything folding and bending, and it's like, oh, you're bending your knee too much, this is happening, that's happening. You watch it full speed, you're like, oh, actually you're not. That's just, it's picking, the camera picks up a heck of a lot. So it's important for me in competition that I watch it at real time and then watch it at slow-mo to pick out these little things. But it's always picking out the bits that are related to the cues that you're always going to give them. So if we're thinking about this and this going into a particular competition, so drive out, long jump, for example, striking your foot back underneath you and driving the knee. Okay. So if that's what we've said, that's the critical thing we've been working on, then that's really where I'm watching the video. I'm looking at other things and what's happening leading into that. But then my cues back to the athlete are always associated with that. Because if I suddenly tell them, well, the mid phase of your run up is over here, suddenly I've given them more things to think about. So I can't remember. There's a thing about in your brain, you've got like a series of boxes why we can remember things. And it's something like, I think it's 5 boxes plus or minus 2. So when you're thinking about things, that's why we can remember 7-digit numbers, but beyond that becomes a little more awkward. And the thing is, suddenly if I start telling you about other things, you're suddenly filling up all these boxes, and then there's too much information and you're like, oh, do this, do this, do this. So, you know, it's using it smartly. Because I've seen it. I've been at an athletics competition and I have seen a coach talk to his athlete after a long jump. A long jump lasts 4 seconds. Really run down a runway, jump and land in a sandpit. 4 seconds. I have seen somebody talk to an athlete for 2.5 minutes, and I was listening, eavesdropping, and I must have given them 11 different coaching points to think about after 2.5 minutes. And then this athlete walked back up the runway, and the coach suddenly went, oh, and then ran after him. And I'm watching, and they gave him another 3 things to think about. So this person's stands at the end of the runway. They got 14 things to think about before they set off.
Reading the
4 seconds worth of work. So, like, it's, you know what? It's the same as going to the supermarket without a shopping list. You know, I got to remember all these things, and whatever. Take a list. And I have to remember one thing: read the list.
Yeah, it's funny because I have that conversation with my assistants a lot, and sometimes we have younger coaches come in, and I'm trying to help develop for their career. And I always I say, go ahead, tell me what you think, and give me notes, or we watch film together. And they want to correct every single thing. I'm like, well, we're not going to correct everything. You're not going to have a team that doesn't commit turnovers, doesn't miss a shot, they missed a shot, but they weren't intentionally trying to miss a shot. Now, if they're intentionally trying to miss a shot, then I'll pull up the clip and say, what were you doing? And it's just about, you're picking 2 or 3 things maybe that week leading to the game, or to kind of, this is what we need to do really, really well to beat this team. And then the other things will take care of, whether they do it well or not is not going to impact the game, and that's kind of how I try to approach film sessions for the team.
Yeah, I think sometimes what you're trying to find, if you imagine the movement or whatever it is a chain of different things. It's trying to find the one link that is the weak link in the whole chain that affects the strength or the integrity of the chain, and it's finding. So I see a lot of people coach the outcome. Long jump's a classic, which is you've got a whiteboard 20 centimeters wide by about a meter sort of thing that you got to hit, and people will focus on hit the whiteboard, you didn't hit the whiteboard, hit the whiteboard, you're over the whiteboard, move your run up back, and they focus on this hitting the whiteboard without going, the reason they're not hitting the whiteboard is because 4 steps out they're starting to back up and stutter in. So that's the bit to fix, not the whiteboard. So again, it's using the video and going, okay, what's the cause and what's the effect?
Yeah,
that's is it an effect or is it, and where's the cause of that effect? And looking at it, the reason that you missed the layup is, or whatever it may be, or something, the reason you're missing free throws is you're not bending your knees. Just bend your knees and extend up your arm. Sometimes people reach at the hoop, this kind of thing, and you go, that's the thing. It's not score the basket, it's bend your knees a little bit. So take a breath, bend your knees, make sure that and get your rhythm and feel it. It's those, what's the cause? We know what the effect is, but what's the cause? And that's the clever thing, and video can give you that, because you get a second bite of the cherry, or a third or a fourth or a fifth. Just keep show me that again, which, trust me, I've done a few times. I'm like waving and going, yeah, I'll just be a minute, I'm just checking the film. Show me again, let me look again. I haven't got a clue what I'm going to say. I need to find something, or just do that one. Yeah, it's really good. Well done, excellent.
Yeah,
this kind of thing. But I remember once at a competition, not Jess. I was at a competition, World Youth Championships under 18s, and I was looking after a heptathlete. And her first round of the shot put was poor, and I had very little experience of this athlete because I was on team duties and been asked to look after her, and it was kind of like that. And I was like, okay, I know she's better than that because the stats say so. And I went, oh, come over there. And I just went, what do you think of that one? And she went, oh, no, that wasn't very good. And I said, can you do better? She went, yeah. And I went, well, go back out there and do better. Just do what you normally do. Go back there better. I didn't really have a clue, but it was just don't panic about that. It's gone. You got 2 more throws.
It's mental.
Can you do it? Can you do better? Do you believe you can do better? You can. Well, go back and do it. And she did. She threw a PB second round. I was like, yeah, there you go. And I'm like, this sort of thing. But it's sometimes some of this is just, I believe in you. You believe in you, because I do.
Absolutely.
Go back. And it's that. And no amount of video or sports scientist. Yeah. Show me the paper on I believe in you.
Yeah.
And show
What's
me
the percentage of that?
Yeah. Show me the equation on that.
3% gain, if you can say that phrase.
Yeah. To sports scientist. But no, it's using the data.
It's a good, it's the eye test that still needs to be respected. When you're talking about coaching.
Totally.
So before we wrap this up, we kind of have this question, and you've had some amazing highlights in your career thus far, but when the story's told and done, what's the pinnacle? What do you see? What is the next great thing for you on the horizon? What do you want to achieve in your coaching career?
You know what? I got a tweet. I got a tweet from somebody. I was replying to something, whatever, which is always perilous on Twitter. And somebody tweeted back, oh, that guy, he's so lucky. The super talented individual walked into your life and now he's still trying to be relevant and stuff like that. And it was, he's lucky. So, I mean, I was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. I was lucky because it came together. But you know what? I was lucky 5 times. I wish you as much luck in your day. Best wishes, Tony, was my response to him. And I think that's the thing, is to get back in the game at the high level and have another punch at that top end. And I've got a few athletes in the group now who I think are capable, of performing at the highest level on the Olympic stage, and potentially, finalists, medalists. Medalist is an awkward one because you don't know. It depends on the opposition, the level of the opposition, but certainly they can perform on a high stage. So to take somebody back or take somebody for the first time to that highest stage again would be great. I've been fortunate to take, you know, two athletes to a Summer Olympics and 2 athletes to a Winter Olympics. So, you know, and 5 athletes to Commonwealth Games and 5 different athletes and so many, what is it? I think it's 18 British records. Granted, I think 17 of them are Jess's. But anyway, no, there's a couple of others in there, let's be fair. But, you know, you look at it and go, to help somebody to that level to achieve their dream, for me, would be the thing. In terms of my highlights, personally, the best performances for me as a coach were, quite frankly, 2009, coming back from injury, coming back from 3 stress fractures in the ankle and winning the World Championships, or Jess winning the World Championships in Berlin 2009 for me ranks high. And then the second one is coming back from pregnancy and winning the World Championships in 2015. They rank 1 and 2. The Olympics in 2012 ranks 3, if I'm honest, because it was the overcoming of adversity is, I think, a true test of what a coach is and a coach's value. Can you make a difference when the chips are down? Because when it's going well, anybody can spin that plate.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's you have an incredible career, and it's a pleasure talking to you as always. Hopefully we can catch up and have a beer and talk in person soon enough and all this stuff is over with.
Definitely. Remember, you're going to teach me all about the triangle offense.
I will do.
The sharp sequence offense for this coming season. Yuri Madison is tearing out his hair going, no, don't give away the secret.
Probably. Thanks a lot, Toni, for coming on, and I appreciate it. It's great. So much information, so valuable. Hopefully, I took a lot away from this, and it's great.
I hope somebody got something from it. No, really, thank you for asking. It's always fun to talk to you and watch you guys train, really, as I'm walking down the back of the court, watching you guys do what you do. And in my mind, I feel like he's going to ask me to play next week. He can see that I could come 53, I could pull on the spooks and I could be back in there. No, never, ever.
Really appreciate it. Great speaking to you, and speak to you soon.
Yeah, take care.
Cheers.
Take care.
Thanks.